Welcome back to another episode of Women Off-Road Warriors. I'm here with Lily and Chrissy, and today we have incredible guests, Jessi and Jessica.
Hello.
And they are better known as Jess Squared Rerouting.
I love that.
Isn't that cool? They are gearing up as competitors for the 2025 Rebelle Rally, and they bring a combined 56 years of experience for off-roading, overlanding, camping to this year's rally. So we'll be talking about their preparation, challenges, and expectations for the Rebelle, plus some fun surprises along the way. But before we dive into the off-road world, let's spill some tea. So what has everyone been up to all at once? No.
I can never get this question right.
Wait, we're going to start with Lily because Lily doesn't quite remember her day-to-day.
I can never remember what I did like during the weekend, but I don't know. I'm serious. Okay, so I mostly stay home this weekend with my kids. So just, feeding everybody.
Hey, that's a challenge in itself.
Yeah.
To keep them all happy.
It is.
Anybody else?
At Mopar Heaven.
That's right. You were. You had a huge weekend.
We did.
Very
we did.
cool.
But we'll be covering that tomorrow night. So
Yes, we
I'll
have
keep all that under wraps.
Nice.
I'm excited to hear about all of that. So it looked like y'all had a lot of fun, as much as I could keep up. I did do a little off-road, back roads this weekend and a little bit of camping. So I
That
was
sounds relaxing.
out and about, so to speak.
Nice.
Jessi, what about you? Anything fun this weekend?
Fun, because anytime you work on a Jeep, it turns into a whole ordeal. But we installed a ham radio, new fenders, and a light bar on my kid's Jeep.
Wow, that's
Nice.
exciting. I'm sure they were ecstatic about that.
Very much so.
How about you, Jessica?
I went snowboarding on Saturday, and it was much needed to get out there. So it was
That's cool. Like, I'm sitting here in South Carolina thinking shorts weather and swimming, and snowboarding just doesn't even register with me right this minute. So you caught me off guard with that. That's pretty cool,
Yeah.
though.
Yeah, it is. We got a nice, very late, like winter rain, which made it snow up in the mountains. So there was some nice fresh snow, and that was really enjoyable.
Nice.
That's cool.
Nice.
Impressive.
Yeah, I'm ready for the winter to end here though. The last couple hours today, so it's kind of cool to see you here now, finally.
I
And I was
know.
able to, I was able to
Awesome.
learn a little bit more about what you guys doing and everything. So it's exciting. And we
Yeah.
want to know, like, let's talk about your Jeep. You know, it's like, I guess you're the third teammate you have on the team.
Mhm.
Like, what, let's talk about the Jeep. What do you have on it? Like, is anything that you're going to change for the rally? What are the new modifications you're doing to it?
So this is the Jeep, and all the modifications, it's far surpassed what you actually need to compete in the Rebelle, because she's a rock crawler. That's my passion, and so she's honestly way overbuilt for the Rebelle, so I won't be doing any additional mods to it in preparation for it. She was at one point a Rubicon, but really the only thing left on her is the engine. Everything else has been changed, upgraded axles, suspension, coilovers, new control arms. I mean, literally everything. But yeah, I love this girl. I mean, we go everywhere. But yeah, there's really, unfortunately, no mods. I mean, because this will be my third time competing, so the mods I put in for it were like the terror trip, so you can calculate by kilometers. But that I put in on the first race, and we'll still be using that one. But yeah, I mean, if you were gonna compete, and I have to go down tire size because I run fees, and that's not allowed in the Rebelle. So I have to go down in tire size. So that will be one thing I'll be doing. But I do that every year when I compete.
What size tires will you have to go down to?
So the first year I competed, I was only allowed to run the biggest tire size they allowed was 35. In 2023, they started to allow 37s. So I'm going to go down to 37s, probably depending on what I work out. Yeah, more than likely I'll be running 37s instead of my 40s that I love.
Nice. I have a JLU like you, Rubicon. 2018, and I'm on 37, so I guess I just barely make it in there to the Rebelle.
So
But I haven't maxed mine quite out like you have. Sounds like you got some really cool things on it, so I love that.
yeah, it does. I'm a huge fan of the 40 plus tires. I don't know. I think that I'd be kind of sad if I had to take mine off to do that run. I'm like,
Yeah. It looks very disproportionate when you go down to such a small tire compared to what you're used to.
yes, definitely. Definitely, definitely. Well, we know that every off-roader has a story. What is yours? What made you decide to get into this? What fueled this passion for you? Was there a defining moment?
I can go first, Jesse, if you want. So I always have since a young age have liked doing competitive things and trying to challenge myself and push myself to do difficult things. And the Rebelle came up. This is their 10th year of doing it. And so in the last 10 years, I had kind of kept an eye out for it, and it became a very popular thing for women, obviously, because it's only for women. And I liked the challenge of it. And then in 2023 was my first year. And my teammate, a different teammate, and I competed, and she was ready. She had signed up. I didn't know if I was going to be able to do it until the end of April, and that's when I had signed up to do it with her. And they do it each year in October. So that was only 6 months for us to really prepare. And she was in Northern California, and I was in Southern California. So we teamed up and competed in 2023, and we got 4th place for rookies. And it was a really big challenge, probably one of the harder challenges, especially with like the endurance and the length of it and the distance and the kind of mental pressure and stress that it can put on you too. But it was definitely worth it. And now I'm back again, and Jesse's back again, and we're teaming up.
That's incredible. 4th for your rookie year is because I think I saw like this year they have 65 teams.
Yes.
Is that,
Yeah.
I mean,
And let me clarify that. So it wasn't 4th for like everyone. It was just 4th for rookies. So we were
okay, I gotcha.
overall- Yeah.
That's really cool that they have places for your first year. I like
Yes.
that. That's a really
It
good
is
idea.
nice. It's very nice.
How about you, Jesse?
So for me, I started overlanding with my husband before it was overlanding, and just kind of caught the bug for being out in the wild, so to speak, and just kept changing vehicles and vehicles and vehicles to go out further and further. And then that's how I got into jeeping. I started rock crawling, became a tread lightly trainer, and we started going on even more extended, like 2 weeks or more off-roading trips, trying to stay as far off the grid as possible. And then the Rebelle came up, and I was like, oh, I think I want to try this. And so 2020 was my first year. I competed again with a different partner in 2023, and now I'm competing with Jess, and super excited to see how far we can go.
I loved that question of, was like there a specific moment when you knew this was your passion? I don't think I've been asked that before, which is really kind of a cool thing to think about. Like, at what point did I know I wanted to do like off-roading and be involved with getting out there? And I would say that probably when I first started driving my dad's Jeep before I got my license. And like, as a kid, like whoever lets you start driving out there is like, this is the coolest thing ever. And I love this. And it's just like a dirt road. It's not even like anything that crazy. It's just a dirt road. But like that's spark of like excitement to be like, ooh, I like this. And this actually requires a little bit more than just driving on the road. It requires strategy and tire placement and being aware of where the edges of your vehicle are and where you would hit potentially on the bottom. And I really liked that. So I was probably like between 12 and 14 is when I really that spark kicked in for me.
That's awesome. I love that story. That is too awesome.
That's cool. I love that.
Yeah.
So I know that you guys have tackled the most amazing terrains, but if you had to pick just one, what's your absolute favorite place to wheel?
Good question. It's a
For
hard one.
me, it's absolutely the desert, because I like being on the big rocks. So for me, it's desert.
I've never wheeled in the desert, so South Carolina, we have mud, a little bit of rocks. We don't have the desert, but That's a dream for sure.
You'll have to
Yeah.
come out
Any
and we'll
tips
wheel.
for wheeling in the desert?
I mean, a lot of finesse goes a long way. Obviously, tire placement is key. And I think not being afraid to be out of your comfort zone, because there's a lot of, when you get into the more extreme rock crawling, there's a lot of moments where you really can put yourself in some dangerous situations. And it's being able to overcome your personal fears or fear of tipping, fear of falling, fear of going off the side of the cliff, to that really propels you forward. For me, I guess being an adrenaline junkie, like the more I do it, the more extreme trails I want to do.
Makes sense for sure.
Yeah.
How
And
about you, Jessica?
I would say I love the mountain views. Desert's fun. I do like the desert, but even, I guess to be honest though, Moab would kind of be considered desert. And I love all of the terrain around Moab. That's just gorgeous.
Great.
But I also really love Colorado's mountains and the views that you can see from way, way up high, and the distance you can see, and the green, and the trees, and the meadows, and the gorgeous flowers. And I would say probably up in the mountains of Colorado is probably one of my favorite places to have off-roaded.
That's a bucket list for me. A bucket list, because I've
Same.
seen people who have, and the scenery looks just so phenomenal. I'm a mountain lover too, so I get that 100%.
Yes, yep. It's a good bucket list one.
It's on there. It's on there.
So I have a bunch of questions for you girls. We want to know what's behind the scenes of the rally. There's a lot of people that they're not familiar with what you're doing. So first of all, what exactly is a Rebelle Rally?
Yeah, I can jump in on that one, Jessi. The Rebelle Rally is the longest off-road competitive rally in the United States, and it just so happens to be for women only. It covers about 2,500 kilometers of distance. It's a total of, they actually on their website now it says it's 11 days with, I think, them tacking
Wow.
on, I think it's pre-tech is now officially required, right, Jessi? Yeah,
Correct.
so it's 11 days total and 8 days of the actual competition. From the time you wake up to the time you're going to sleep is all go, go, go competition. And the way you gain points to get different placements is through checkpoints. And there's 3 different levels of checkpoints. There's a black, a blue, and a green. The green is really obvious. There's usually a big green flag in the ground. You can always find it. Blue is a little bit harder. It might be just like a blue PVC pipe in the ground, or it might be a blue flag. And there may be some nearby each other. So you have to make sure you're going to the correct one. And then the black has nothing there. So you just have to make sure that you know you're in the right place when you push your like not GPS. What is it called?
Your
Jessi?
tracker.
Your tracker. Yeah. So the tracker will say exactly where you are when you push it. But each time you push it is when you would get your points. And at the beginning of the day, you would get your CP guide, your checkpoint guide, and you have a map. And then you would plot on that map each of the checkpoints and try to get to as many as you can throughout the day. There's an open time and a closed time for each checkpoint. And then also along there, you might have an enduro, which might be like an on time or an on route enduro. And that's based on doing some mathematical equations. Looks kind of like this. And you take different directions.
Wow.
And you have to base it off of speed and distance and time to make sure that you're at an exact point each one of these steps. So, did I miss
It's
anything, Jess?
amazing. Wow. I didn't realize into this.
Yeah. Yeah.
About
It's
how many points are there a day that you have to get to? Is there
It ranges
a magic
per
number?
day,
Or
because each checkpoint, based on the skill level of obtaining the checkpoint, has a different point value. It can be like 5 points, it can be 10 points, and then the number of checkpoints per day change. So every day it's different how many you can obtain, and it's up to you to choose which ones you go to and which ones you skip, because you cannot possibly make them all.
okay, that was my next question. I was wondering, but yeah.
yeah. Greens are required. Blues
Okay.
and blacks are optional. I mean, and this is based off of Jessi's 2020 and 2023 and my 2023, because who knows what this year is going to bring. They might throw a curveball, and some of the stuff we're saying might change this year, but we wouldn't know until the day of.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's insane. So how did you girls meet?
So we met in the 2023 Rebelle Rally. We both had different teammates, but we kind of saw each other and talked, and we met for coffee afterwards and decided to team up.
Wow.
Yeah.
Was it an easy decision to do that, or just it was love at first sight, basically?
No, it was not easy because my 2023 was really hard. My end of my 2023 was really hard and kind of ended with like a bitter taste in my mouth. Where I was like, I'm not doing this again. This is too much for me. I can't do this. So Jessi had to very like softly and like gently just kind of like, "Hey, let's just go get coffee," and not even like, do you want to do the rally again? Like it took months to really
Right.
talk about it and ask questions and dig deep. And any rally teammate will know that you have to really get deep on your questions when it's almost like an interview. It's an interview to know deeper questions. Is this somebody I want to work with? Because you're not just doing a day-to-day, oh, like, let's just go get coffee. You know, you're going through, you're hungry, you're tired, you're exhausted, stressed and pressured by time. You're pressured by exact precision plotting and teammates communicating all day long between like 8 to 12 hours in the vehicle each day. There's hot, there's cold. In 2023, we had like 100, we were in the hundreds, and then also like 20 degrees. So it was quite a wide range of temperature as well.
Yeah.
Do you guys have to train for the rally? How do you do it?
So we meet weekly to discuss training plans, things like that. But we've also once a month committed to going out and doing like a mock version of the rally to practice our skills, our communication, and to make sure that we're cohesive as a team in preparation for the actual rally.
Yeah, and I mean, just even at home, we can do some preparing, like I was showing you with like the enduro. We can do math. There's a group we're a part of other rebels. The cool thing about the Rebelle Rally is that the women who compete in it, most of them are very like collaborative and supportive, and they're all chiming in to help each other. We were in Johnson Valley a couple weekends ago doing some training practice out there where they gave us a list. They gave us a map, which I have here. And these maps are like, big old, massive maps, and they gave us maps. They gave us the coordinates. And so we're plotting the coordinates on the papers. And then we were actually out there doing seat time together, practicing the on time and on route enduros in person in the vehicle on location. But also at home, we can practice doing the math at home, the enduro math, plotting at home with all of the mapping equipment that we have. So there's something we can always do every day that's just a little bit of practice, so that when the rally comes, it's just, there's a phrase I'm not thinking of right now, but it's just kind of like, yes, yeah, exactly.
What's one of the biggest takeaways from prior competitions like 2020, 2023?
Go ahead, Jessi, if you
for
have
me,
something.
It's being on the same page with your teammate and the teammate being able to compete. Because for me, 2023 was really hard. My teammate had a real hard time with the competition. And so I ended up having to do both. So if you're not on the same page, you can run into problems and obstacles, and you have to overcome. Because, for me, not finishing is not an option.
Yeah, wow.
I can definitely understand that. So you ended up having to do part of the navigation and the driving
I had to do
to get through the
plotting,
rally.
figuring out where we were going, and driving, which is not efficient in a
Wow.
rally.
No.
No.
And
At the end, I
Jessica,
feel like, sorry.
yeah, Jessica, I know you said that it was your first year. You had like 6 months to prepare. Was navigating, plotting, all of that just something in your blood? Or did you really have to kind of just sit down for 6 months to be like, all right, I got to figure this out?
Yeah, I have a strong sense of direction just naturally. And then growing up, when we would take motorhome trips across the country or Alaska or Mexico or really anywhere, my dad would, toss me a map and say, hey, find out where we are on the map. Tell me where we are. And even I was realizing during beginning driving, what are they called? Like the atlas, the maps. What were those maps called? The books.
You're talking about, yeah. I have one out in the garage.
Yes. So anyways, like anytime I wanted to go anywhere, even as a young teen, my dad would say, "Okay, you got to get the map." Before MapQuest was even a thing, you need to tell me exactly the route you're going to take. And so I'd have to, tell him each of the roads I was going to take. And so looking at maps, and then very often my dad and we would go off-roading, and I would be the navigator. Actually, now coming to think of it, this is actually really fun. I would be the navigator for my dad. And this is literally just clicking for me right now. So this is really fun. Because we would go just him and I off-roading in his Jeep, and I would have the map and I would have the directions on where we needed to go at what mileage point and stuff like that. So I would be instructing him on where he needed to turn or give him details about what was around us from the book. So maps have been a really fun thing for me. And then anytime I'm going off-roading just by myself, I've got my Gaia up and I'm doing all the mapping in there, or zooming out or zooming in and just looking at what's around me and geeking out about map stuff. When it came to the actual plotting, I had not done that before, but it came very naturally to me and it was fun for me. It's really quite enjoyable for me to do that. I like numbers, I like precision, I like calculating things. And so that was really fun for me and kind of just came naturally and moved into it. And then really, we only got one practice together before the rally. So we shot into the rally with not much practice together, but we did really, really good.
That's
That is
awesome.
so cool.
So, what's some of the favorite experience that you have from the rally?
So for me, it's wheeling in all the different terrains. I like wheeling in the sand, the rocks, although there's not as extreme amount of that. And then, of course, going through, mountainous areas. So for me, the terrain is just fabulous like every day is a great day.
That's awesome.
Yeah, and I would say it kind of is interesting tying that almost to like the biggest challenge and like the favorite part of the Rebelle experience, tying those two together, because the biggest challenge for me is really my own mental challenge for myself of what am I saying to myself and believing in myself and not getting too hard down on myself. But I almost feel like that's kind of part of my favorite part of the experience as well, because that is such a challenge. And on the days that we do well, or I can catch myself starting to go downhill and can pick myself back up, that feels so good to be like, I believe in myself. I believe that I can do this. I believe that I can keep moving forward on this. And that's really what a big part of why Jessi and I love doing this is, because we want to show women like, you can do hard things. You can face these difficult things that scare you or that seem so challenging that you can't even get past it. But we're like, we're doing this, even though this is really hard. We're going to do this. And I think that's part of the Rebelle experience that is unlike anything else, because I mean, how many of us are, even when we're training or practicing, we can't really mock this up. We can't even pretend or try to make it something we can practice. It's the real thing is something unlike anything we've ever done. And so I think that's what's fun about it, is that it's so like well put together and so detailed, and you have to be strategic with your time and what you're doing with your mind and your body and eating and sleeping. And it's just very kind of calculated. And I think I like that a lot.
That's good.
That's awesome.
Do you guys have any sponsors? What's the cost of the rally?
You go ahead, Jessi.
Yeah, that's kind of a big question, isn't it?
So we're still looking for team sponsors. I have sponsors for my rig. We're still looking for team sponsors. We're doing a bunch of fundraisers to raise the funds, because the entrance fee is over $15,000. So like this weekend, we're hosting an event with a friend of mine at a beer company that he's part owner in, and called Tales and Trails. So we're focusing on our four-legged trail buddies that join us for adventure. And so we're bringing a little bit of fun, a little bit of beer and tacos, a little bit of fundraising, all into a nice event.
That was actually going to be our next question, as we wanted to really jump on and find out more about the Tales and Trails. Why is this so important to you guys outside of just the fundraising?
We both have our own four-legged friends, and At least I know speaking for me, it's my four-legged buddy has been with me for 16 years, and she's going on 17 this year, and she's been on all my off-roading trips with me and backpacking and hiking and been all over the country adventuring with me. And so I think Jessi and I have a very soft spot in our hearts for our puppers and what they bring to the world. And there's a lot of opportunity for dogs to be adopted, and this is one of them. And very often, a lot of off-roaders have a four-legged friend, and so we saw those are very common connection with that topic. So that's part of the reason why we're doing it together with the dogs.
Love that. Love that.
Yeah. And for me, being an educator in the off-road community, I often see people with their dogs or even a cat, believe it or not, on the trail. And sometimes there's things that are just forgotten about. They don't think about bringing maybe, well, if I break down, I need extra water for the dog too, not just the people. And I need food. Or we're out in areas like the desert, there's rattlesnakes, there's rattlesnake avoidance training you can do with your dogs specifically that I've done with mine. So, even just the educational piece, I think is really important for the off-roading community, because sometimes it's kind of an afterthought, and bringing that to the forefront, I think just helps everybody in general.
I love that. I agree wholeheartedly. Yeah. That it is important to remember to have all of that covered as well.
Mm-hmm.
I love what you ladies are doing with that. That's awesome.
Thank you. Chrissy, I know you have some furry pets. What do you have? You got to share.
I do. I have a Cookie. She's a Westie poo or Shih Tzu poo. And then we have 2 guinea pigs and 1 cat. So, yeah. If I could take them all with me all the time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I have a dog and 2 cats.
Yes.
I have a Garfield cat. He's huge. He would so just ride and chill.
Oh, that's awesome.
Lily, how about you? Do you have any four-legged? You did?
No.
I didn't either.
Yeah, I have
Currently have 3 cats.
Oh, wow.
3 cats.
3 cats and 1 dog.
Frick.
And 4 kids. So it's a
4
lot.
kids. Jessi, what did you say you have?
I have a German Shepherd.
I thought that's what you
Nice.
said.
Mm-hmm.
What's his or her name?
His name is Captain Rex, because everything in my life has to be Star Wars related. So he's Captain Rex, but he's an all black German Shepherd.
Cute.
Oh, I love that.
Sweet. So I have one question. Describe briefly, or it's not even a question, but just description, one day of the rally from waking up to turning in for the night, because I really just kind of want to know what the day actually looks like.
That's a great question. Because same.
Wake up 4 a.m. You're not allowed to leave your tent until 5 when they hit the cowbell. Emily, the founder, goes around and knocks on this cowbell so that it's 5 o'clock. So we're up by 4 already. Basically, we have everything inside our tent broken down so that when that 5 a.m. cowbell rings, we can get out of our tent, break down our tent, and get to the mapping area in the main tent to eat breakfast, get our CP guide, which is generally within an hour or 2 of us getting into the tent, depending on when your start time is. Then we plot, get our morning briefing from Emily or Chrissy Beavis, sometimes Jimmy Lewis, and they, tell us sometimes, hey, the terrain might be a little tough in this area, or watch out for this, or you're in the desert, don't forget about the desert tortoises. So we get our briefing, we grab lunch, and then we head out to the vehicle to chase our checkpoints. I would say it's roughly about 8 to 10 hours in the vehicle chasing your checkpoints, and you have a required finish time to get back to base camp. If you don't get back to base camp within that time frame, it's point penalty because everything is points driven. So, usually you're back to base camp 5, 6 o'clock at the latest, and then you have dinner, and then you can wind down and go to sleep and start all over again.
Wow.
Yeah,
I
and
imagine you
each
are
day that
exhausted by the...
Yeah, right. And then also when we get back to base camp, if we're just transited, you still have to set up your tent, set everything up because they're not doing it for you.
That's a lot.
So is base camp at the same place every time, or does it move?
It moves.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you have to carry with you your tent and all your gear.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Yep.
And you can't have like a rooftop tent because you have to like check in your vehicle at the end of the day, and then you're not allowed to go back to it until the next morning.
Why is that?
So that you don't like I guess to tinker with it or to potentially do
Yeah,
something to cheat.
if there's something wrong with your vehicle,
Interesting.
you get a certain amount of time to work on it. If you need time past that, you have to go to mechanics. But yeah, they don't want you to camp out of your vehicle or have access to it except on the marathon days. Then you're allowed to camp out of it.
Okay, interesting.
It's
Yeah.
interesting.
Are you interested in kind of the communication when it comes to like the navigating
Absolutely.
stuff?
Yes.
So once we're in the car and we're going, then I will have my map board, which is actually this right here, and I'll have this in my lap, and I'll have the map on top of it, and then I will be telling Jessi, the Terra trip shows 2 different numbers, and it's all kilometers. The top number will show total, and the bottom number will show like the legs, like you reset it every once in a while. And so then what I do is I get the map out, and I'll say, okay, you're going to go in my ruler, and I'll say, you'll go 4 kilometers, and then we're going to come to a road here. I need you to stop there. Or like, we'll see this kind of terrain on the left, or this terrain here, or we're about to turn left here, there. And for the greens, like I said, those are really easy to find because there's this really big, obvious green checkpoint. But then like the blues and the blacks, those are much more difficult to find. And so that's where the precision comes in to make sure that you're getting the exact spot. Because if I'm looking at a map, so this is a map ruler that we would use, and based off of the boxes inside of like the lines, the long lines, then we would be able to get the coordinates like plotted on here. And then for the blacks, you try to get as close. So remember, the blacks, you don't have anything there. Have to go there and hope that you're in the right spot. But there are some little techniques you can do, like what is the closest kind of intersection to that you could base it off of? And what is the heading? So we would use our compasses to be able to get, okay, on the map, we're at this intersection right here. And I use my ruler and I say, okay, this checkpoint is 1.25 kilometers in this exact heading. So then Jessi gets out of the car, she'll get her compass, she'll look at the heading that she needs to go, and she'll look ahead and find something to keep her eye on to drive towards. We reset the Terra trip, so it's 0, and then she starts driving that direction. So then when we hit that number of 1.25 or whatever the number was, we stop. That's where we use the tracker and we push the button. And then it will tell us the coordinates there. And we can look at our CP guide that has like the distances on it, and based off of how far we are from that center, that's where we would get our points. So the blacks are like a bullseye. The center is like a certain amount of meters. Like for example, 25 meters is the circle, and that's where you get the most points. And then 25 meters outside of that, you may get like one less point. And then there's something called a wide miss, and then you get a penalty point. So for blacks, you want to make sure that you're really on the dot with the blacks, because if you get too far out of it, then you would lose points. Does that make sense?
Wow.
It does, but I have
Yes,
a
it
question.
does.
Do you have to get the green, blue, and black, or the black and blue just more like if you want to try to add extra points, then you can?
Yes. Yep. That's the way it's been for us. The greens are required, and the blues and blacks are optional. And sometimes they say you have to get these in the exact order. Like you can't get 2 before you get 1. You have to get them in order. But some of them, they'll be like checkpoint 4, 5, 6. You can get in whatever order you want. And then that's where, as a team, you look at the map and say, okay, what makes the most sense for us? To which order do we want to get in?
This
Yeah.
sounds fun, actually.
A lot of strategy.
Super
Yes.
fun.
Yeah.
It's super fun. And
How did you deal with the pressure?
for me, I don't look at it as pressure. I think it's more about team dynamics and team communication, because Like, you both have to be able to do each other's job. Like, I have to be able to navigate. She needs to be able to drive. And while you're driving, you're also navigating because you're like, okay, we're driving past this mountain with a saddle on the left, or, we're approaching this intersection. Are you seeing that on the map? And, monitoring the terror trip so that we're both on the same page consistently. But I personally don't feel it as like a lot of pressure.
It sounds like just a freaking awesome adventure to me. Like, I'm like, this sounds like fun. Like, I don't think I could physically handle it, but it sounds like a blast, honestly.
Yeah, it definitely is. It's more fun than it is, I think, stressful. And I think the stressful side of it, at least for me, is enjoyable. It's you know how they say like you can't grow unless you're uncomfortable? Like a little bit uncomfortable. It's kind of like that. Like it stretches you to be a little bit, grow those skills or put yourself in a little bit of an uncomfortable situation. And if it's not forever, it is a certain amount of days, in that comfortable situation. But I know for me with the stressors, I have to take care of myself when it comes to like making sure I get as much sleep as I can, making sure I'm hydrated, having snacks. I'm a big snacker for my brain to keep working well. During the Johnson Valley, I didn't have breakfast and I was like, Jessi, I need something to eat. I need to get my snacks because my brain is starting to slow down. And as long as I got some food. And then also, we've been talking about some strategies that we want to do when it comes to if it gets to the point, like I will have some moments where I'm like, okay, I will go to the answer saying, I don't know. If you keep asking me questions, I'll just keep saying, I don't know. And so I'm starting to share with Jessi, like, these are the points where it's like, maybe that's to the point we say, hey, Jessica, I'm going to stop here for a second. You can get out. You can walk around for like a minute just to like take a deep breath, just cool off a little bit. Not that I'm going to go blow up, but it's kind of like my mind's starting to go a little bit too fast for me, that I just need a little breather just to take a breath. And then I can get back in the car, get back in the Jeep, and then we can keep going. It's some of those stressful moments. And those are things, like I said, like the biggest challenge for me is the mental challenge, because I'll be pressuring myself so much to be like, I need to be moving. I need to be being precise. I hate saying like the perfectionism, but it's like I do want to do the best that I can. And one of our goals is like to always like have open communication and like improvement each day. So
I
that's
was
something
about to say, it sounds like you girls have, y'all make a really good team understanding what each of you needs and when you can tell the other person needs it. And that's really important. So I think that's great that y'all have that figured out together and you have like little codes and little like, okay, if you see this, then I need this. I think that's awesome that y'all can do that without making things personal or anything else like that. Like, that's really important.
Yeah. Yeah, and one of the big things that the rally talks about is being able to let go of what's in the past and being able to move on, because you really do need that full mental capacity to focus on the now and where you're going, rather than kind of being held back. And that is hard for me. I've shared with Jessi that is hard for me and something we're going to have to work on. But one of the privileges that Jessi and I get is that since we do live so close to each other, we will have that hands-on like seat time together to practice these things, where we had said we want to start practicing at the end of our day when we're practicing to ask the questions of like what went well, kind of review the day, and then be able to let it go and move on to the next day or whatever.
That's awesome. I love that. That's really good. Really, really good.
I love it. April, are you going to do our game?
I
Our fun
am,
game?
but I have one more question. Well, two more. Packing wise, you've got a lot of days. Everything has to go in the Jeep. How do you efficiently pack everything that you have to have?
So for me, I have to not only pack my clothes, I have to pack all the tools that we'll need. And having a specialty Jeep, so to speak, there's a lot of tools and parts that most other Jeeps won't have. So I spend a lot of time going through my vehicle, making sure I have all the right tools, everything I need to fix the vehicle. The clothes side of it is easy because I don't know, pack like I'm going on a backpacking trip. Less is more kind of a thing. And then just snacks, and I bring a ton of water bottles so I don't have to lug that big 5-gallon water reserve that we have to take. out.
Right.
Yeah, but yeah, I mean, like I spend a lot of time packing and repacking before we go. Like we'll have a day where we're gonna, okay, bring all your gear and we're gonna practice packing it in the Jeep so we get it to the most efficient and quickest way to strap everything down, because I'm a big believer everything has to be strapped down in the Jeep just
Yes.
Yeah,
Packing
and
is
that
a huge part of that for sure. Yes,
yeah.
just efficiently, and you're not, throwing stuff and being swarmed
Mhm.
by all the things that you have to bring along.
Mhm.
And I'm happy to help with it as much as I can, but
Right.
Jessie also knows her Jeep best when it comes to, and where we are, driver and navigator kind of a little bit more independently, but if needed, we need to swap, we'll do so. But when it comes down to like morning, Jessie and I have been talking about, like, we're not both sitting there at the map at the same time. Like, there's other things that need to get done at the same time. So Jessie's, taking a look at the Jeep, making sure everything looks good. She's airing down tires, she's cleaning the windshield, she's packing everything up so that it's all stacked up. And so she will do a great job with kind of being in charge of the vehicle itself, especially since she knows it so well. And I'm not going to ever know it as well as Jessie does. So it's great that she has such knowledge of the vehicle that she does. And then, like she was saying, with like packing so lightly, I have done so much actual backpacking in the mountains, and I don't want to carry all that stuff. So I have no problem, just very, very light stuff. And for me, going in a Jeep is like, wow, there's so much room. I don't have to carry all this stuff. It's like there's so much I can
Right?
bring. And it feels like when I did the rally in 2023, I felt like I brought a lot, even though I really brought very little amount of stuff because I didn't have to carry it really. The vehicle's carrying it the whole way, not like in backpacking where it's like every ounce turns into
Matters,
eventually
yeah.
pounds, and then yeah.
Wow. And last question, well, at least for the moment, what are your main goals for this year's rally?
Main goals are open communication. I've been working on memorizing these. Open communication,
Adapt
and
and
support.
overcome quickly.
And then I'm focusing on the end goal of getting to the end of the rally.
Which is a good goal in itself. Just
Yeah.
finishing, starting what you finished.
Yes.
Mhm.
We do have a kind of like undercover one of wanting to do better than I did in 2023. So I placed in 19th, I think, overall. So Jessie and I are like, okay, we'd like to
Beat that.
beat that.
That's
cool.
fair. That's
How
awesome.
how many would you say out of, say, 65 do not finish? Are there a lot that don't?
So there are
don't
teams that haven't, like in 2023, there were 2 teams that didn't finish because of mechanical breakdown. And then, so there are, but yeah, most finish, because that is the
Okay.
goal
That's
of
kind
the
of what I
rally,
was
is to
wondering.
finish. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, and they have their whole mechanics teams that are willing to go above and beyond to head out there and do an overnight in the middle of nowhere to help you.
Yeah.
Okay.
Wow.
So
Keep going.
the rally in itself wants to see all the ladies finish. So that's good. That's good to know.
That is good.
But I think you also need to be as self-sufficient as possible. Like, I would much rather fix it myself than have a mechanic fix it, because that's a penalty. So the more you know about your
Okay.
vehicle, the better off you are.
I need to fix it. That makes
Okay.
sense.
That's good to know.
Okay. A little fun. Rebelle Rapid Fire questions. You ready? And everybody can answer these. So Lily and Christy too. All right. Favorite off-road snack?
Go ahead.
Oranges.
Good.
I like the Bolt chews.
Well, I've never had those.
They're little energy chews. They're great.
Okay, I'm gonna have to check that out. Jessica, did you pick one?
Yeah, I said red vines.
I missed that. I like red vines. Okay, Twizzlers.
Twizzlers. Yeah, that's what
Yes,
I meant. Like anything
Twizzlers.
gummy candy. I actually had candy like that at the booth this weekend. I'll have to share it with you next time, April. I'll tell you what
Yes,
it
for
is.
sure. That's my thing. Okay, GPS or compass?
GPS. And I'm still gonna fail it, but GPS.
GPS.
For me, I think it's compass, because I'm even now making maps to go lat and longitude even when I go out.
That's awesome.
I guess my brain is being a square, and it's like, is it so that you are mapping out like the direction you're going, or so you know how to get to a place?
I guess that could, yeah. I don't know if you
mean-
just had a preference.
I know. I'm sorry. I'm making it too.
No, I like it. I like it.
I guess I like I mean, I like GPS because I have a lot more access to so many more maps
Right.
wherever I'm at, and I can really dig down into it and not have to look at a paper map. I can do a lot faster, quicker stuff with a GPS.
That's fair.
And the fact that you're a competitor in the Rebelle Rally and took a lot of time with that question says you're in the right place.
Yeah. Definitely.
Chrissy, me, and Lily were like, GPS.
And I'm still gonna mess it up because I have zero sense of direction, but I'm definitely gonna, there's no chance I'm making
Yeah,
it with a
Jessi and
map.
Jessica are like, yeah, no, let's think about this. There's a lot more to it. Okay, hardest terrain you've ever driven on.
Say the mud, like the rocks, and when it's wet, when the mud, that's really hard for me, for any vehicle. But yeah,
Deep water.
That too.
I like the deep water.
I don't know.
Jessi's got them all covered because she's got the maxed out Jeep. So she's like, there is nothing hard for me.
I like the sand dunes because I don't like having to go fast, and you kind of have to go fast or you bog
have
down.
to.
And I'm just not a fast
Yep.
girly, so it's like I
Especially
don't
when you
enjoy
go
having to do that.
It's fun when you're going around and all of a sudden your back end starts to go like that. That's fun.
Yeah, I'm out. I'm good, thanks.
I'd
Hard
probably agree with Lily and say with rock crawling with when they're wet, like in the rain, rock crawling is a whole different world.
I agree with that too, though.
It
That
really
is.
Yeah, I like
is.
that. You have to be more strategic about where you're placing your tires because you have to account for the slippage.
You
Yeah.
definitely have to account for that. You don't want to
I
slip
don't
into a
have
tree.
Corgis, Jessi. Remember, I only have 33.
She's well prepared for that.
Right.
Yes.
Okay, this one's easy. Well, jeans or leggings?
Man. The
No,
shit
jeans.
I think jeans too.
Jeans?
Depends on like if I'm road tripping, I want leggings though. So
Yeah, I think both for me.
I'm more a sweatpants girl.
That wasn't an option, Lily. Okay, biggest off-road pet peeve.
Slow people who don't realize that you're behind them and they won't move out of the way.
impatient spotters.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thankfully, I don't have to deal with them a lot, but yeah, impatient spotters.
I have to say same thing, but instead of a spotter, like a passenger. Like if you're impatient, you're in the passenger seat with me. Get out.
Yeah,
Get out of my
that
Jeep.
too. That too.
I agree with that one.
Don't tell me how to drive.
Most
Yeah.
definitely.
For me, it would be seeing people that see you and they're coming the opposite direction and they still keep coming, even though you're waving them to stop. Like, don't come, just
Oh,
wait
no.
for me to
Yeah.
pass. And they come up nose to nose. That's annoying.
Like, now what do we do?
Yeah, like, there's no room to pass.
So the off-road navigation, obviously it plays a crucial role for the rally, but can you kind of walk us through your exact strategy for navigation during the rally? Maybe what tools you specifically use, techniques to keep you to stay on track, and how you handle pressure of navigating in such a demanding event.
I think some of the strategy we do is try to keep it to as short a distance as possible. The longer the distance is from resetting the Terra trip, the more likely it will be inaccurate. So one of the things is we keep it to a smaller distance. That's one that we do.
Mhm.
We like to keep things inside of the rig that help us not have to remember everything and memorize everything. Like we have a map box, like a map. We have Jessi and I have different ones, but like they have like our map. We keep everything organized the best that we can and always put it back in the same place. That really helps so that we're not losing track of tools. And then like I have my map, like all my tools are inside of here and keeping those things organized.
I think
And then
carry
on my map board, go ahead, Jessi, what?
I was going to say carry redundant rulers because you are inevitably going to lose them. So you need to have like 5
Good
of each
tip.
one.
I would definitely lose them.
Especially in
lose
the Jeep.
everything. Yeah, I lose everything. So yeah, I would need them as well.
I might
Yeah,
need
and
more than 5.
That's where I think that my organization does really help with like always putting it like even it was fun going to Johnson Valley because I was like, okay, I knew in 2023 I was in a 4Runner, so I knew where I put things and like I always put it back in the same spot. And like learning Jessi's door and like my pen and my pencil barely fit into it, but it's like it works. I can get it out and sliding it like in the same place. I think that's for me as a navigator is always putting things back where they should go so that things don't fall. I had the ruler fall out like onto the ground plenty of times, but I never lost a ruler thankfully in 2023. But yeah, staying organized is a huge thing. And I'm sure Jessi and I will, with the more seat time that we have, we'll get more tips and tricks of what's gonna be a good routine for both of us to make things like all those little things, all those little shortcuts of like put a pen here and Jessi's gonna have a pen here. And because even during the rally, like when we start getting to the blacks, I will hand Jessi a piece of paper and she will have a pen. I'll just say, start writing these numbers down. And I'll say 0.01, 0.1, 0.2, 0.03, and then she adds it all up. And that's because on a road isn't always perfectly straight. A road's going to have all these turns, and I can't measure turns with this all at once. So I would do one section to a turn, and then one section to another turn, one section to another turn, one section to another turn. So then Jessi adds it up, and I can say that's the distance that we're going. And then as soon as we hit that, that's where our black is.
That's intense, ladies.
Yeah.
My goodness, that is
Very
a lot.
intense.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
My brain would be fried after that. I would need a vacation.
I would definitely prefer to be the driver.
Yes, same.
Yeah, but
Just
as
tell me where to
driver,
go.
you still
Yeah.
have as the driver, you still have to navigate. You still have to check to make sure the plots are in the right spot. You have to take the headings.
Ever gets a chance to drive? Sorry.
They can, like, depending on the teams, you can swap. But Jessi and I have talked, and I prefer to be the navigator. I'd prefer to not drive.
Okay, that makes
I don't like driving other people's rigs though, so I wouldn't be comfortable with it. I feel like I know mine so well. Like I had Tara's here one time and I just had to move hers out of my driveway. And
Wow.
it was a whole ass thing. And I'm like, this is insane. Like I don't like driving other people's rigs at all. So I kind of would understand that. Like I have to be really comfortable with a rig for me to want to drive it.
Yeah, even though they're Jeeps, they'll feel very differently.
Yeah.
Very.
Very
See, I guess
different.
I just drive so many other people's rigs during training that I'm totally good with it.
Yeah. I mean, I don't want to be responsible for messing somebody else's stuff up.
True. I know I can feel you on that, Chrissy. But yeah, I can understand that sometimes you just have to get in there and figure it out. So
Yeah.
But outside of the Rebelle, what are other events and adventures that you guys have been part of for our last question?
So for me, I do a lot of, besides rock crawling, I do a lot of overlanding trips. I've done the Continental Divide, which is 2 weeks, Arizona to Canada. I've done Colorado multiple times. And then we're looking to do, in fact, a more extended trip next year. So we're in the planning stages of that.
Now, and I know that you're part of, haven't you helped with like some of the Jeep Jamboree or some of those events?
Yeah,
Jeep Academy.
So I've been trail guide for Jeep Jamboree for the past 5-6 years. I'm helping to coordinate now the Big Bear Jamboree. This is my second year in that. And then I just recently became an instructor for Jeep Adventure Academy.
Wow.
Nice.
That's pretty incredible.
Thanks.
Man, y'all are some baddies. This is awesome.
How about you, Jessica?
I go on adventures, and the next one we're planning is Arizona trip in the end of April with me and my husband. My husband drives his Jeep, and I drive my 4Runner, and then we'll head out there and camp for I think either like 8 to 10 days out there, going to different places. Usually if I'm with a group of people off-roading, it's usually my dad and a couple of his buddies. They have a like off-road group that they go with regularly, but it's like never more than like top 10 vehicles, but that's even a lot. That's pushing it if it's 10 vehicles. It's usually
when are you guys going to Arizona?
What was that?
When are you guys going to be in Arizona for that?
The end of April, last week of April.
We have an adventure stop in Arizona later this year, and I was like, well, if y'all are going to be around.
Yeah,
Right,
that's
that would have been
fun.
good.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we're
That's
ours
great.
isn't until September though, so
Yeah.
maybe
Yeah.
next time.
Yeah, it's a very, very remote part of Arizona where you have to bring all your own fuel and supplies because there's no resupplying along the route. So I'm looking forward to getting out and away.
I blame you none. That sounds amazing.
So, just to close us out, a huge thank you to Jessi and Jessica for sharing your amazing Rebelle Rally experience. Where can our listeners offer support and keep up with your off road?
Yes, so we have a very built out website. It's Jess, the number 2, rerouting.com. And there you can find we have our crowdfunding campaign right now that has different package sizes with merch with like this hat and t-shirt and stickers and patches, all available for different packages. And the lowest package is $25. That goes to the end of April. So if anyone wants to support with the crowdfunding campaign on our website at Jess2rerouting.com, you can go there. Then April, when will this be going out?
As soon as I can get it out.
Okay, and that's totally
I
fine.
do have a couple to push out before, unless I just go ahead and get this one pushed out. But if you want it out by a certain time, then I can do that.
Nope, it's whatever works for you. Then I would say on our website we have an email that goes out. I try to do it weekly. But as you know, life catches up and sometimes
Yes.
things don't get out. But it's called our Rally Report emails, and we give updates there. And that's really the easiest way for people to stay connected with us. And then if anyone is on Instagram, my Instagram is pinkstarjess, and Jessie's is...
I have arctrooper.jl and Myth the Storm Motorsports.
There you go.
Nice.
Lily, glad to see you back. I was scared your phone died.
Yeah. My phone died.
Did
But
it
this
really?
has never happened to me.
Did it really die?
Yeah, like it didn't let me know. Usually when your phone is about to die, it lets you know on the screen you have 10% left or 5% left. And I think it didn't do that this time. So
How do I know you so well? I went, her phone totally died.
some problems.
I don't know you.
I don't know.
So we're just kind of closing out, Lily. You want to tell us where they can find us to follow
they can
Women
find us?
Off-Road Warriors? Yeah.
Oh yeah. Well, thank you, girls, for being here. We love having you, Jessi and Jessica. I kind of want to call you Jessi and Jess. And thank you so much for being here. And we're excited to hear everything about you and sharing your experience. And for the listeners, thank you for the support. You can follow us on Instagram, on YouTube, and we are in all the platforms.
And I
Thanks for
second
having
Lily and
us.
April. This was a pleasure having you ladies on. I learned so much that I had no idea about. So thank you. For all of our listeners, join us next time. We will have Brooke Hawkins, Bad and Bougie, on, and we're going to be discussing her builds and all things Mopar Heaven from this past weekend.
Excellent. And until next time, keep the rubber side down and the adventure alive. Bye, y'all.
Bye.
Thanks again.
Thanks.